All right, today we are diving into a book that has, no exaggeration, changed millions of lives. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, the core idea is actually super simple. Real, lasting change, it doesn't come from some huge, life-altering event. Nope. It comes from the compound effect of hundreds and hundreds of tiny decisions you make every single day. So it's not about flipping your life upside down overnight. It's about tweaking your daily system, one small habit at a time. Let's get right into it.
So the book kicks off with this this shocking moment. The author, James Clear, literally gets hit in the face with a baseball bat. I mean, can you imagine? And for him, this wasn't just some terrible injury. It was the beginning of a really long, really slow recovery that basically forced him to figure out the power of small, consistent actions. He had to live this stuff day in and day out, long before he could ever write a book about it. This is where it all started.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to break down 5 huge ideas from the book. We'll start with the power of 1%, then talk about systems over goals. After that, we'll get into the science of habits, learn the 4 laws to change them, and wrap it all up with the biggest idea of all, becoming who you want to be.
All right, Section 1, the power of 1%. This is really the foundation of the entire book. So let me ask you this. What if you could get incredibly better at something? Not by grinding yourself into the ground, but just by improving 1 tiny percent each day. It sounds almost too small to matter, right? Well, you're about to see just how powerful the math on this really is.
And you want a real-world example? Look no further than the British cycling team. For almost 100 years, these guys were, well, they were nobody. Totally mediocre. Then this new director, Dave Brailsford, comes in with a strategy he calls the aggregation of marginal gains. And what did they do? They took everything that goes into riding a bike and just tried to improve each little piece by 1%. I'm talking everything. The bike seat, the tires, even the massage gel they used on the athletes. The result? They went from being a joke to absolute total domination. It's an incredible story.
You know, it's so easy to brush off a 1% improvement. It feels like nothing, right? Insignificant. But this is where the magic of compounding kicks in, and seriously, the math is just mind-blowing. That tiny 1% gain every day, it doesn't just add up, it multiplies. Think about that. Over a whole year, you don't just get 365% better, you get 37 times better. It's wild.
But, and this is a huge but, this compounding effect is a double-edged sword. It works both ways. Getting just 1% worse each day, that extra cookie, skipping that workout, it doesn't just set you back a little. Those tiny bad habits compound too, until eventually you're pretty much back at 0. So every single day with our tiny choices, we are putting ourselves on one of these 2 paths.
Okay, on to our second big idea, systems over goals. Now, this one might feel a little counterintuitive because we're all taught to set these big, hairy, audacious goals, right? But James Clear argues that's exactly where most of us go wrong. The focus shouldn't be on the goal. It should be on the system.
Have you ever felt this? You're working so hard, you're doing all the right things, but you're just not seeing any results. It's so frustrating. Well, that feeling actually has a name. It's called the plateau of latent potential. It's that dip, that valley of disappointment, where most of us just throw in the towel. Why? Because we expect progress to be a straight line up. But that's not how it works. The biggest results, they're always delayed.
Clear has the perfect analogy for this, and I love it. Think of an ice cube in a cold room. Imagine the temperature is slowly going up, 25 degrees, 26, 27, all the way to 31. On the outside, what's happening? Nothing. It's still a solid block of ice. But was all that heat energy wasted? No way. It was being stored. And then you hit 32 degrees, boom, the breakthrough happens and it starts to melt. Your effort is exactly the same. It's not wasted, it's just being stored until you hit that magic tipping point.
So, why are we so focused on systems? Well, just think about it for a second. In any sport, any business, winners and losers often have the exact same goal, right? So the goal itself clearly isn't what makes the difference. Plus, achieving a goal is, well, it's just a moment. You cross the marathon finish line and then what? It's over. But a system of running 3 times a week? That keeps going. And here's maybe the biggest reason. Goals chain your happiness to some future outcome. A system, on the other hand, lets you enjoy the process, to fall in love with the day-to-day work itself.
Okay, so if systems are the key, then we have to understand what systems are made of, and that's our habits. So let's get into the science of it. We're going to look at the simple, four-step loop that is running your life right now, whether you know it or not.
Every habit you have follows these 4 simple steps. First, there's a cue. That's the trigger. Then comes the craving. That's the desire. Third is the response, the actual habit. And finally, the reward, the payoff. Let's use a super common example, your phone. The cue, your phone buzzes. The craving, ooh, I wonder who that is, I need to know. The response, you grab your phone. And the reward, you've satisfied that little itch of curiosity. That simple loop, cue, craving, response, reward, it is the engine behind literally every single habit you have.
And just to be clear, this loop isn't something that just happens now and then. It is running constantly in the background every second of every day. Your brain is basically a habit-forming machine. It wants to automate behaviors, so it can free up precious mental energy to focus on new stuff, on actual problems. So you can think of habits as these little mental shortcuts your brain has learned over time.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most practical and powerful part of the entire book. If that habit loop we just talked about explains what a habit is, then these 4 laws of behavior change explain how to actually take control. This is your user manual for building good habits and breaking bad ones.
And what's so brilliant about this framework is how simple it is. There's one law for each stage of the habit loop. So if you want to build a good habit, you need to 1. Make the cue obvious. 2. Make the craving attractive. 3. Make the response easy. And 4. Make the reward satisfying. And what if you want to break a bad habit? You just flip it. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. It's that straightforward.
Let's make this super practical. For the first law, make it obvious, it's all about your environment. If you want to practice guitar more, don't stuff it in a closet. Put it right in the middle of the living room where you can't miss it. The other laws are just as simple. Make it attractive is about pairing something you need to do with something you want to do. Like, say, you only let yourself watch your favorite show while you're working out. Make it easy, this is the famous 2-minute rule. Your goal isn't run 5 miles, it's put on my running shoes. That's it. And finally, make it satisfying. Our brains crave immediate feedback, so when you do the good habit, give yourself a little win right away. Just checking something off a to-do list can feel great, and it tells your brain, hey, let's do that again. Okay, and this brings us to the final and I think the most important idea in the whole book. Because building better habits, it's not really about losing weight or writing a book or getting a promotion. It's about something much, much bigger than that.
Here it is. True behavior change is identity change. The most powerful motivation you can have isn't some external goal or reward. It's a fundamental shift in who you believe yourself to be. See, the goal is not just to read a book. It's to become a reader. The goal is not just to run a marathon. It's to become a runner.
Now, this idea totally flips the script on how we usually think about change. Most of us think we have to change our beliefs first and then our actions will follow. But Clear says, no, you've got it backwards. Your identity actually grows out of your habits. You literally become the things you do repeatedly. Your actions shape your beliefs. And maybe the best way to visualize this is to think of every single action you take as a vote for the kind of person you want to be. When you show up at the gym, even if it's just for 5 minutes, you've just cast a vote for, I am a person who doesn't miss workouts. When you write one single sentence, that's a vote for, I am a writer. None of these votes are world-changing on their own, but they add up, and over time, they build the proof of your new identity.
So really, it all boils down to this one simple question. With every tiny choice you make today, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you are casting these little votes. The only thing left to ask is, who are you voting to be today?